You are now tuned in to Keeping It Real with Sana. Your thoughts, our voice.
Hi guys, welcome back to our podcast of Keeping It Real with San and Yoli. Today's topic we're going to be discussing leaving the nest. Some of you might be thinking, what is leaving the nest? Well, let's break it down for you. Leaving the nest to me is a moment in a person's life where they feel like they're ready to branch off, living at home and put themselves in a new environment, new city, new province, just overall a new location in general. Like
Yeah,
as long as you're not at home, that's a form of leaving the nest.
yeah,
Anything you want to say about that, Yoli?
yeah. Leaving the nest is a very crucial time in someone's life because it is the first time someone is really stepping out on their own and pursuing whatever it is that they want to pursue without really the support. Well, there is support, but without really the physical presence and guidance of their loved ones, basically. And it is also a scary time in someone's life because it is the first time they're doing something like this on their own. And there is no age specifically as to when this would occur, even though there is this kind of like general consensus of like, oh, when I'm done with school, like matric specifically, I should leave home to like study elsewhere or pursue my dreams like elsewhere from home. Like it's kind of like pressure for you to be like, you know what, when I turn 18 or whenever I'm done with school, I should just leave home and be my own person. But the the thing about that is when you do that and you're not ready to leave home and you're in that new place, you end up like not really enjoying that process or that stage in your life and not really being present
Mm.
at that stage in your life. And that really happened to me in my first year in 2020, which was the year the pandemic began because I left home and I was away from home for like 2 to 2.5 months before the actual pandemic began, where now we were faced with a lockdown and everybody had to return home and be quarantined for the time being. And also the circumstances at home at the time prior to the pandemic wasn't really a pleasant one, where I found myself having to choose whether to study closer to home or study away from home, especially now that at the time, I mean, my dad was very, very sick, and my instinct, like my just entire being, just wanted to be close to him, near him, just be there for him in his like really difficult time that he's experiencing. But it was actually him that encouraged me to, chase my dreams, I pursue my dreams, and I leave the province and study elsewhere, knowing very well that he's going through a difficult time. And I felt that moment it was just him setting me free from the nest. And it was a very difficult thing to accept on my part because it was something I didn't feel like was the right time to do. And I mean, the experience in my actual first day actually resembled that. Like I wasn't enjoying it. I wasn't really present in the time that I had prior to the pandemic. And I feel like looking back, I have some regrets. Like I have things I wish I could have done differently, but I wouldn't necessarily want the same to happen to someone else who is currently in my position because um, we have this opportunity now. And I feel like it's just definitely something you should really look into and pursue if you feel you are absolutely ready.
Yeah, and with what you said about just being honest with yourself when is the right time for you to leave the nest, because sometimes people don't leave the nest necessarily because they feel like they want to or they feel like they're ready,
Yeah,
but they do it because of the surroundings. For example, all of their friends are now leaving to go study at a specific institution, so
yeah,
now they want to do the same because they want to be in the same like place and
yeah,
environment as their friends. Or certain people look around them and they see like they fellow students are now also relocating to different places, and
Yeah.
all of that hype and talk about university, especially like when you in matric and coming
Yeah.
closer to the time of ending your high schooling career,
Yeah.
like the noise for people transitioning out of the nest to different environments. Like people are, say, for example, we from Durban because we stay in Durban and we originated from Durban. Let's say we stay in Durban and now our friends are talking about how they're going to be going to UJ, they're going to be going to UP, they're going to be going to Vids, they're going to be going to UCT, and then now
Yeah, mainly like your big cities, Johannesburg, Cape Town, Pretoria, etc.
exactly. And now, now you're not sure about what you wanted to do, but now because you hear this talk of like everyone doing the same thing, now you feel the pressure of like, should I be doing the same thing? Should I also be like relocating? Should I also be like going where my friends are going so we can all still be, friends and still be together? And that's not an honest reason for leaving the nest. Sometimes, yes, it might benefit you at the end. Like you might really get what you wanted to get initially, even though that's from an indirect force of movement or from an indirect motivation of taking a specific action. But it's important to be honest with yourself and see if you're in the right time to make that transition because it's a very big transition. And sometimes, like my co host said, if you get it wrong, it can negatively impact your life and your perspective on a lot of things.
Yeah.
And with regards to what you were also saying about leaving the nest, but still wanting to be at home or still feeling like the need to be at home and be closer to your dad. There's three types of leaving the nest. Well, I like to see leaving the nest or leaving home as like three concepts. The
Mm.
first concept is physically leaving the nest, physically leaving your home. And then secondly, it's psychologically leaving your home. Means you're still physically at home, but mentally you see yourself outside of your home environments. Like you feel like you're ready to do more, you can be more, and you don't associate with a person that's still being at home and still being in their comfort zone. And then the third one is leaving the nest as a whole, both physically and psychologically, where you're in a state of balance. Like you physically leave, you relocate to a new place, you relocate to a new environment, but you're also mentally relocating with yourself and you feel like you're ready to start this new journey and have like specific reasons and motivations to why you are starting this new journey. And it's always important to look at where do you stand with regards to leaving your home.
Yeah, going back to your point about pressure, like for example, your friends, I feel like the pressure can also come from family as well. Especially if you come from a background where not a lot of people in your family are educated to that level. If we're talking about going to university or college, or like there's not a lot of employed family members to be able to support the entire family, and now you find yourself in a position where you have to step in and help out at home, you know, and really like take on the responsibility of being a young adult or an adult per se. And which brings us to the topic of taking a gap year, because it is given a negative reputation,
Mm,
in the sense that if you're taking a gap year, you're not really doing anything with your life, and
mm,
you feel like your life is not progressing, it's stagnant,
mm,
and there's no sense of direction. Like that's kind of the perception from like outsiders, people who are not in your shoes, and it kind of gets to you sometimes because you do feel that way and you don't really understand why is it that your path is different from other people.
mm,
And that's, I mean, that's the reality of life though. Like not everybody's journey is the same. Not everybody's gonna go through the same things, and not everybody comes from the same circumstances. So I would really advise you to take the time that you need, even if it means take a gap year, to really think about this decision, because it's a very important one. And also, just going back to the three ways of leaving the nest, with me in my first year, I felt like I was psychologically at home, even though I was physically present here in Bloemfontein. for the reasons that I stated, like my dad being ill, and now I'm here, I have no control of the situation. Like I feel even more like I have no control. I'm constantly thinking about him and my mom and just wondering if everything's okay, and I'm not really being fully present in the moment that I was in my first year and fully experiencing the things that I could prior to the pandemic. And that feeling in that moment may feel like justified. It may feel like, you know what, it is a valid sort of way to react to this transition. But now looking back, even though the circumstances weren't pleasant and there was a sense of guilt at the time, but you're not really like life has no guarantees, and you're not really afforded like certain moments in your life. Like it won't last forever, so you might as well make the best of it in that moment, even though it may feel like you don't deserve to be here, or there are more important things happening. Like really take the time to experience life to the fullest, because tomorrow is never promised.
Mm, that's true. That's very true. And with regards to the topic about a gap year, and what you said is very true. Like a gap year has a very negative stigma like associated with it of like people see you as you stagnant, you're not progressing in life, not doing anything with yourself, they look at you as like a lost being and your life has now become purposeless. And I feel like it's a gap year, if you approach it with the right mindset and the right perspective, can be the exact opposite. Because I personally took a gap year when I matriculated. I did not go straight into studying at university. I took a gap year because I felt like I was not in a position to honestly say and fully say that I am ready to go to university. I want to study this. I want to be this. I want to pursue this. Because in honesty, I did not have the answers to those questions. Whenever people ask me, what do you want to do? What do you see yourself studying? Or, it was always I do not know, or I am not sure, or like just having a whole list of everything. Like this, that. And people try to ask me to be specific. I could never really do that. And that made me realize that, hey, I am not in a position to step out. I'm not in a position to leave the nest just yet. So I stayed in the nest, but then I did a lot of self work. I did a lot of self introspection. I looked at myself. I learned myself. I asked myself difficult questions. And, I just investigated the person that I used to see in the mirror every day to fully comprehend who he is and what is he trying to do with, this life that he has
Yeah.
at his fingertips. And necessarily to say, like, one of the reasons why I took a gap year was for mainly academic purposes, because academically, I do not know, like, what I'm striving for. But as a person, I always knew, like, outside of the academic world, who I was, what I associated with, what I wanted to be, and what I see myself doing. But now that I was able to associate my personal life from outside the academic world with the academic world. That gave me a perfect platform to leave the nest, knowing that I have a fully functioning foundation and it will help me uh, in this journey that I'm taking. And I was able to hit the ground running because also my friend also took a gap year and he did the same. He used the time to just, you know, really dive in deep into who he really was. And for him, it's also the same thing. It positively impacted him. And now he's currently working, and pretty soon he's going to be leaving to go study overseas. And that's just to show that a gap year does not necessarily always mean you are lost in life or you do not know where you're going in life. Yes, it could mean that, but it means that you're in the process of trying to find out where am I trying to go in life and who am I? It's basically a step in finding yourself in the midst of
Yeah.
the chaos.
Yeah, and that's a really, really good point to make there. And I feel like once you leave the nest, not everything's gonna go as planned, nor are you gonna have everything figured out. But in the midst of that, as you leave the nest, the one thing you are certain about is yourself. You know what you're there to do, wherever it is that you're going, you know who you are.
Mm.
And so whenever you're faced with like the different challenges that come with that transition and leaving the nest and adapting to this new environment, you are not easily like influenced or shaken, rather, or like rattled by it, because you are grounded in yourself, you're grounded in whatever it is that you want to do.
Yeah, that is true because last thing you want to do is throw yourself in a deep end knowing very well you cannot swim.
Right.
You are automatically gonna drown. Whereas if you know you have some sort of swimming skills and you throw yourself into the deep end, you'll be able to handle it. Maybe it might be still too deep for you, but you should be more or less able to keep yourself afloat.
Afloat, yeah. And the environment also like matters. The environment, I mean, like in which you go into
Mm,
does matter. It does contribute to this whole journey of leaving the nest and developing your character. Like going back to what my co-host said about going to places where like your friends are, and like it's very like overpopulated, overcrowded, places that have a lot of hype, like the
mm,
ones we mentioned. As much as it's all good and well, like it's very exciting, and there's just like a very, what's the word? Like there's just a lot those places have to offer. But if you are not like yourself grounded and like kind of steady with just going with like the different challenges that you might be facing in those places, you might end up finding yourself really, really struggling and
mm,
really, really just being pulled into spaces or like doing things that are kind of like sort of way out of what your intentions were.
mm,
And me coming to Bloemfontein specifically, like it's not that overhyped place. It doesn't have a lot going on
mm.
really, and no one really talks about it. Like, oh my god, like when I leave school, I'm gonna go to Free State and like
Yeah,
study there or start working there, because it's a very underrated place.
that is
But
true.
I really enjoy the underratedness of it because it really gives you like the space for you to really focus on yourself, focus on what you're doing, and there's not much distraction to it, because it's very like peaceful and serene. And not to say like anything bad about other places, but for me, I feel like that's also one of the reasons why I felt that being here was meant to be for me.
Yeah, it's a matter of interest, personal interest. What are you trying to gain out of that environment
Yeah,
that you put yourself in? And if you feel like a specific environment is not going to be good for you, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's a terrible environment or that's not a good environment. It's just for you as a person.
yeah,
It's not the ideal location
action
or
for
the
you.
type of place you want to be situated in. But yeah, going back to what you were saying about Bloemfontein and its simpleness and not
Yeah,
that much hype, because it's like even in school, like I remember like I used to tell my friends that, oh, I'm gonna go study in Bloemfontein. I'm gonna study at the institution of the University of Free State, and they'd always look at me sideways, like, "Are you right?" Like in your mind,
right.
like out of all the places you could go to, why would you want to go to like Free State? Like that place has not much going on. It's just very simple, very straightforward, and that
Yeah,
was actually what caused me to fall in love with it even more
yeah,
because it's like just the way people reacted whenever I mentioned that place of
yeah,
like you're not serious about life or you're not
yeah,
serious about fun time actually proved what I wanted, that I want a place that can ground me, a place that can isolate me, give me the opportunity and space to focus on myself, dive deep within myself and focus on what I'm here to do, which is build my academic success, but most importantly, build my character and build me as an individual in my life of independence and trying to, be my own support system
yeah.
and just, keep myself grounded.
Yeah, and leaving the nest isn't really the end all be all. Like, once you leave the nest and you go to that specific place that you're going to, doesn't mean that's it. Like, that place that you're in, that is it. You're there for life. Like, it's just the beginning of your story. And,
Exactly.
you know, when you get to a place where you feel like you're ready to move on to bigger and better things,
Then
then, you
you're
know,
able to make that transition more
yeah,
peacefully. Because, like, what of the problem is everybody wants to start at the top. Like, everybody wants to
exactly.
go to the best experience of life. But then, if you're having the best experience of life at this point in time, then your life going on forward is going to be downhill. And that's
Exactly.
like the mistake that most people make. They feel like
Mm,
their 20s, their 30s is the
mm.
time for them to live, and then 40s, 50s, they can just, settle down, have family,
And,
have
you
kids,
know,
and just be basic.
right,
But that's not the truth. Life can always keep growing, evolving,
going.
and being just
Yeah,
as exciting as it was when you were 15 years old, when you were 20 years old.
exactly.
Like, it's
Exactly.
just a matter of you taking a nice gradual process and steps towards like
Yeah,
living your best life.
yeah,
Doesn't have to be an in moment thing, doesn't have to be a tomorrow thing. It's
yeah,
just a matter of you being consistent and present in every moment that you're
exactly.
in.
Exactly. And just going at your own pace, even if you are at those like overhyped places that are like, it's very busy,
It's
like
booming.
it's booming basically. We can still adopt the same approach, that mentality. It's just obviously going to be a little more challenging because there's just a lot going on, and you really need to focus that energy into yourself
Mm,
and making sure that you are moving towards your purpose and living life the way you feel is the best way to do it. And we really hope that you take this sort of advice or talk and us sharing our thoughts and our journeys about leaving the nest and what it really means to us and what we would want it to mean to you guys, and we hope it'll impact you guys. And you guys, if you want to share your thoughts and sort of your responses or questions, anything, feel free to comment on our page below on Spotify, Instagram, as well as YouTube. That way we can continue the conversation beyond this episode. And it's really exciting to be able to witness people who are currently in our situation and just seeing how they will approach it, basically.
that is true. And yeah, with regards to that, in closing, like, yeah, guys, just be very mindful of how you leave the nest and why you leave the nest. Don't let it be from external factors. Don't let it be from your environments. Don't let it be from your surroundings. Like, let it be something that's internal. Let it be something that comes from you that you feel like, okay, this is the step I want to take. This is something I'm ready to do and do it. Even if you're working, you don't have to feel like, oh, now I'm working. I have a constant income. I have a salary.
Yeah,
I now need to like move away from home,
yeah,
get my own apartment,
yeah,
get my own flat, get my
yeah,
own house. It's like, no, if you do not have the financial means for that, if you do not have the motivation for that, then just stay where you are and build the process that will allow you to make those transitions comfortably and more at peace. But
yeah,
yeah, guys, just be honest, stay true to yourself, and stay grounded. Don't allow other things or external things to define what you do and who you are in life, because that's when people just lose themselves.
yeah. There's never really a right time or perfect time to do anything, but just know that when you decide to take the step in your life that you feel like it's the best one for you, and always remember to walk your journey. Don't pay any attention to what other people are doing. Focus on yourself, and like my co-host said, just do it like when you're ready, and make sure that it's for the right reasons. It is your life. You get to say how it's gonna be lived and how your story is gonna be told, and that is as simple as it gets.
So yeah, thank you guys for tuning in once again. Please, if you find the episodes interesting or if you find them of value, please don't be afraid to share this with your friends so that they can also be as impacted as you are. And
Right.
let's just grow the community and just grow each other as individuals and just support each other in our self growth.
Exactly. And so, with that said, we are signing out. So, peace and love, guys.
Peace and love. Till next time.